Welcome back to the Stebbins Garage YouTube channel. My GLA45 AMG needs an oil change. We're gonna knock that out today. Before you get started, make sure you take the oil cap off. Sit it right there. That'll let the oil drain out the bottom a little better. There won't be a vapor lock. Okay, now that the car's up on the lift, you can do this on jack stands too. It's really straightforward. We've got 3 8mm bolts that hold this little splash pan on. We're just going to pull those off. And then that just drops down. That gives us access to our drain plug. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the oil drain catch can over here, drop that out, and then we'll have to change the filter. It's really easy. I mean, this is the first Mercedes I've had, and I've found it pretty easy to work on. All right, this is a 13mm wrench. It should require a little bit of force, but it shouldn't be hammered on there, depending on which Gorilla worked on your car last. I worked on this one last, so I know it's not going to be too bad. My drain pan has a screen in it, so I can just drop the bolt in there if I want. There is a crush washer. You probably heard it hit the pan. Not a big deal for me. I'll just retrieve it after it's done draining all the oil. All right, while that drains, I'm going to show you, this is an OX1162D. This is a Moly filter cartridge. And then I'm using Formula M Mobil 1 5W40. I have a total of 6 quarts. So once that's drained, we'll go ahead and put the plug back in and then drop the car down so we can change this filter cartridge. All right, that's done draining. We're gonna go ahead and put our drain plug back in. Gonna wipe whatever oil dripped off of there. Click, click. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put the splash pan back on, and then we're ready to go up top, change the filter, and put some more oil in it. Make sure that this tab goes in there and this tab goes in there when you put it on. 1, 2, 3 bolts. Car's back on the ground. Okay, you're gonna go over here. This is on the passenger side. So find your strut, and right there is the cap for your oil cartridge. I'm using a gear wrench set of tools. This is a 27 millimeter. If you have just a regular socket, it'll work. I have an assortment. I'll link them in the description in case you're interested in getting them. It's got, I think, 5 or 6 different ones. But pretty much all we're gonna do is just put that on there, put a socket on it, open that cap, and then there's a cartridge in there, and we're gonna pull that out. All right, I'm gonna put just an old, this is an old t-shirt, but an old rag, whatever. And then I'm gonna use a universal so that I can get that off fairly easily. You probably don't need the universal, but I have it, so I'm gonna use it. Okay, so you're gonna feel a little bit of resistance. That is the O-ring that seals this thing. And then once you feel that release, you can go ahead and take the tool out of there and unscrew it by hand. Most of the time the cartridge comes out with the housing. Sometimes it does not. Let me see if I can do it this way. Okay, if you just kind of rotate it and pull up, you'll feel it coming out. And there we go. So there is our cartridge. You can see there's a foam washer on the bottom. That comes out of this housing. And there's an O-ring right here, which should be included in the new one that you get. You want to make sure that you replace that. All right, like I said, there's our cartridge. Note there's a foam washer at the end. There's these prongs at the other end that holds it in there. There's the O-ring, so we want to definitely make sure we replace that. We can go ahead and pull this cartridge out. All right, there's our old cartridge. And we'll put that in a Ziploc bag for disposal later. I just use these bags off Amazon. Hopefully it'll fit this one. Yep. So there we go. I know some people like to send their oil off and get it tested and all that stuff. I don't. All right, so I'm just gonna clean this housing up real quick and then change the O-ring. This is listed with 25 Newton meters of torque to retorque it. If you have a torque wrench, great. I do have a digital one, so I'll be using that. If you don't, you can get one really cheap on Harbor Freight. Just Google 25 Newton meters and figure out what that is in foot-pounds. It's not a whole lot. All right, let's go ahead and get that off of there. Now, since I'm not going to reuse this O-ring, I don't care if I tear it up. Just pull that out of there. There's a nice groove right here. You'll know it's in there because you'll feel it kind of snap in place. Let's just kind of roll it around the edge like that. And then it doesn't go all the way down, it goes right to there. You'll want to make sure you lubricate that with some oil before you screw this back on, otherwise it might snag or tear or something. All right, so we can get rid of that O-ring. We'll never need that again. And then we're going to just take this, and you'll know it's in there because you can feel it click and it's not falling out. So pretty much all we got to do is lubricate this O-ring, screw it back in, torque it down, and then fill the engine with oil. And again, I'm using Mobil 1 5W40 Formula M, which is what Mercedes calls for. This I got from Amazon. I'll link it in the description. I'm just going to get a little bit of oil out of here. And got a little bit on my glove. Yes, I wear gloves when I do this. All right. Got a little bit of oil on there. I'll close that up so I don't knock it over. And then we'll put this back on. All right. We're just gonna slide that in. You'll feel it kind of clip over there, and then I'm just turning this in. Like I said, I've already lubed that O-ring, so we know I'm not causing any damage there trying to get it in. We'll go ahead and pull this old rag out of the way, and then, all right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and snug that up. Okay, now we're basically just gonna get my torque wrench, set that up, and then torque it. Okay, so I've got my torque wrench set on 25 Newton meters. That is about 18 foot-pounds according to my digital torque wrench. So let's go ahead and, all right, you can hear it click or beep. It's not a whole lot, but that's what it calls for. And this is the torque wrench I'm using. It's an AC Delco digital torque wrench. It's a 1/2 inch, so I had to use an adapter. My daughter and her boyfriend got this for me, and it has been awesome trying to be able to torque everything without having to set a manual torque wrench. I'll link this in the description too if you want to grab one of those. Once again, here's the gear wrench set. It's 41890 on Amazon. I linked it in the description. Whole assortment of sockets that fit different oil filter housings for different cars. On this particular Mercedes, we were using the 27. I'll link that in the description. Super handy to have. And then while I'm at it, Motive Tools, I was using this swivel. These are really good. They're nice and spring-loaded. If you like tools, that's one to get. It's always good to have in your toolbox. They're not super expensive, but so far I've had nothing but good luck out of Motive Tools. And finally, I'm not sponsored in any way by Motive, but they have some good products. This is a funnel, and as you can see, it's got a special end on it for the Mercedes. So you just drop that in there, and you can pour your oil in. You can see when it's draining, and that will not leak or anything like that. It's pretty much the same design as the cap. These aren't stupid expensive either. If you do your own oil changes, they make some for various cars. I have one for GM products. I have one for Ford because we have both of those in my garage. Super nice to have. I always like to have the right tools for the job. It makes it super easy. This is a job I can do in about 15 minutes when I'm not trying to record it. So make sure you get the right tools. I'll link everything in the description. We're gonna go ahead and put 5.6 quarts in. So I usually like to put 5 and then kind of check it. All right, that was 5 quarts. We're gonna go ahead and put our cap back on for now. Start the engine real quick just to make sure everything's good, and then we'll let it sit a minute and we'll check and make sure that it doesn't need more. It's probably about a 1/2 quart low, but I like to add more rather than be like, oh, I put too much. All right, everything appears to be good. We've tightened everything. No leaks. So we'll let it sit a few minutes and then we'll check and make sure we have enough oil and we should be good. Okay, now that we've completed the oil change, we need the car to know that we've completed the oil change. So this is a GLA45 AMG with the push button start. I'm going to press the push button start one time. All right, make sure you're on the mileage indicator screen. You're going to press the phone button and then quickly press and hold both the phone button and the OK button. So, all right. So now we're in the secret menu and we're going to go down to Assist Plus and hit OK. We're going to go to Full Service. We're going to go down to Full Service, Confirm Full Service. I did 229.5, which is what I read was Mobile 1. So that is 10,000 mile oil change. We're going to hit OK. And yes, it was confirmed. And I hit OK again. All right, full service carried out. So the car won't bother me again for 1 year or 10,000 miles, which I did mine at 8,000. And it'll actually start notifying you 30 days in advance. So that way you have some time to plan. If you're like me, I went ahead and ordered the stuff. I have a list of all the cars in my garage and what their service intervals are. So I already knew. And then you can just hit the back button a couple times and you're good to go. Now when you start the car, it won't ask you to change the oil or do any of the services because you've already done them. So that's it. We changed the oil in the Mercedes. Hopefully that helps you understand how to do yours. It's really simple. I think pretty much anybody can do that with just even some basic hand tools. If this video was helpful, let me know in the comments. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.